let's
Yeah.
go to predictions to wrap this up. Predictions
Yeah.
in the election special of Ami's house. My prediction. You want to go? I can go first. You can go first.
Predictions. Go first.
I predict. I'll say it here on Ami's house. I'll say it here is a landslide for Donald Trump. I think it's going to be a total landslide. You're going to see all these headlines and reports saying we did not see New York State swinging red. Not to say maybe New York will go red, because that I don't know anything about polls and all that crap. It just feels to me like every state you're going to see this red wave of like Donald Trump winning in all these swing states and this undercurrent of support. You're going to see things like we did not amazingly, his support amongst Hispanics, the votes cast, went up 20% from 2020, and women and all these demographics that they thought Kamala had in the bag, I think are going to go. If they don't go fully for Trump, they're going to be at least increased support from previous years. And he's going to get more votes grossly than previous years. I'm sure there'll be contesting and problems and all these other things. But in general, I can see an overwhelming victory for him. And everybody, both sides, will say we're not surprised at the end. Once it's over, they're going to be like, we knew it was a desperate Hail Mary pass to try to beat Trump. And we were screwing ourselves, but we couldn't say it out loud. And then there'll be a reckoning. But maybe there won't, maybe there will. But my presumption is they'll say those same things they said about how Hillary Clinton was flawed too. And this is such an obvious version of that. That's my prediction. You?
I have two. My prediction is in like a historical move, Trump is going to dump JD Vance and take Tony Hinchcliffe as VP in the next 48 hours. Two is I think that
wow. Okay.
I think
the vice presidential candidate now. Yeah.
I do think Trump is going to win, although who knows? But I also think the larger story is the Democrats have doubled down on identity, woke, progressive politics over the last 4 years. And I think the fallout from this is going to be that doesn't win. And there's going to be from the very, very top a big backlash to be like, we doubled down on here and it lost us an election, and like we're done with it. Or it goes far the other way and they're like, we haven't gone far enough with it. But either way, I think the woke thing will like officially come to an end.
If the woke mind virus will die.
Yeah. Like it was. It was a cultural movement that they thought they could use to win an election, and it didn't work.
What's interesting about that is in 2016, it was like, look, the establishment centrist candidates lose. We need to go woke, extreme, far left, right? But then Joe Biden wins in 2020. You would think it would say, okay, we figured it out. He's also kind of center left and won. We can calm down the worst elements of our party and the most fringe elements and go more center. But instead, they decided to go Kamala Harris, she, hers, and just double down. And then it seemed like they had no reason to do that. And I think they'd be in a far better position now if they didn't try to lean and pander to the worst elements of the left.
And I don't understand how can the numbers of voters who want to hear Free Palestine be so big that like that's a good gamble for them. That's what I don't get. Like, how many 18 to 24-year-olds are voting that need to hear ceasefire, that it makes it worth it to lose everyone over the age of 50? You know,
I totally get it.
I don't get it.
Yeah. I think maybe it's this idea that they're somewhat captured in thinking that that's what the tide is. It's sort of like when Nike tries to go progressive, thinking that's what's going to do it, or Bud Light puts Dylan Mulvaney.
They were smart. Mulvaney? I mean, Nike was smart to do it.
With Colin Kaepernick.
Like I'm saying, they got the timing right, and then they backed away.
But then Bud Light tried to do it profitable. With Dylan, the transgender person,
and they got the timing wrong,
and they got the demographic wrong. It's Bud Light who's drinking Bud Light, and
with Nike, they were the first ones to do it, so it wasn't split yet. Everyone was kind of like, cool. After that, it became split, where like you had to choose a side, but they did it so early. But meaning, like now,
there's just a real spinelessness to the Democratic Party that refuses to stand up to the worst elements within it, in a sense of, even if they're not saying we agree, we want to accommodate, and and pander to you a little bit to know we're hearing these voices that are supporting Hamas on campus. We hear you, as opposed to sort of the Clinton era, which is like, no, or the Scott Galloways, which are like, no.
Right.
You know, there's just
John Fetterman. Did you see what John Fetterman said?
I did. And I'm like, what?
Why can't anyone else say that?
He's like, they're like, well, they don't support you because he's like, well, I don't care if you voted for me and you support Hezbollah or Hamas. I love the Patriot tax. I thought it was brilliant. And if you're going to support those groups that want to destroy Israel, well, then don't support me. And I'm like,
if Kamala said that,
of all people,
I probably would have voted for her.
If she said that.
If she was like that, it's daddy's fault. If you know the child that died in Patriot is daddy's fault.
Well, daddy's a terrorist, and I'm like, John, what happened to you?
John, you look like you need help, but thank you.
Yeah, exactly. If Kamala said that, it would certainly, I could understand more Jewish or pro-Israel support for her. But the fact that they sit there and they go, well, I am proud. It says, don't go into Rafah. That's where you're going to draw your line. You're going to put the pressure on Israel to not go into Rafah, where there are hostages and where Sinwar is, and you're going to say that. If they had from the get-go just maintained their clear position about Hamas is the problem, ceasefire, if we want a ceasefire, the pressure's on Hamas, not Israel, the people who are aggressing against. If they had done that, there's nothing undemocratic or shouldn't be undemocratic about that. On the, inconsistent with the democratic policy platform and ideas. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, now it has become that. And that's what Republicans have been saying for years, which is like Republican Jews have been saying, pro-Israel Jews have been saying, I told you so. Like, there's no home here anymore, and the days are numbered. Alan Dershowitz was a Democrat. Maybe says he still is, back in the day. A Clinton, Obama supporting Democrat once upon a time. Like a lot of these, there shouldn't have been. Israel was this once upon a time bipartisan support issue. And now it's become lip service on the part of Democrats in a lot of ways, and then doing what they can to pander to those who hate and want to destroy Israel. And they don't want to lose that vote. I'd be proud to lose that. I would be proud to lose that vote in Michigan.
Well, it's weird because they're still sending billions of dollars to Israel. It's only in the PR. They're still voting the same way. They're still doing everything. It's just like in the way they speak publicly about it, which is very harmful and has been very harmful. But,
that's what Democratic voters will say. Hey, they're doing the same thing. They're very pro. Like when we spoke to Richie Torres, he was like, he's a pro-Israel candidate.
I was making fun of my brother-in-law because my brother-in-law was like, yes, I know what Kamala says, like ceasefire, but like that's not. She doesn't mean that. And I'm like, she's so lucky that she has a man here to explain what she means. Like a lot of times women don't say what they mean, and like just because she says it doesn't. I know she doesn't mean that. They were laughing because they're like, no, she should be held accountable to what she says.
It's just something so dark about the fact that she feels the need to have to, make comfortable those who want Israel to lose.
Yeah,
like really, you want that element in there? You want them heard in a sense? It's weird. It's very disturbing.
Do you think she will be on our podcast ever?
Kamala?
In like 10 years as like
next week.
You remember her as the presidential candidate in 2024.
Wouldn't that be so fun if she sat and said, oh, that didn't work? oh man, Joe, he's losing his mind.
She has a margarita.
What if she has like an Asian accent we didn't even know about? Or she sits down and she's like, well, we tried so hard. I did a pretty good American accent the whole time. You have to admit, I did a very, very good American.
She moves to Tehran.
Or it turns out she's like, what if her real voice is like, well, that didn't work out. Oh, Joe didn't know nothing.
Why is she Chinese? Oh, she's a spy?
We don't know, because she's been accent morphing throughout the campaign.
We don't know. We don't know if she's
Univision. She's like, I love you back. It's okay. Come on, man. It's wild. I was disappointed in Trump during their debate because he could have called out all those things and he didn't. But I don't think it matters that much. All I know is J.D. Vance wiped the floor with Walt, so that was good. The other thing that came about was like how normal a guy J.D. Vance is, and they tried to play. He's just weird, and he went on Theo Von. Yeah. Did you listen to him on Theo Von? It was great.
I need to see that and the Tim Dillon episode too. I missed. Tim Dillon missed out on Trump. I feel bad for him.
Why did he miss out? What happened?
He's probably not big enough. He's big, but he's probably not. He probably tried to book him.
He's just fell off my feed. I haven't seen stuff from Tim in a while. I don't know why. Have you?
Since what was his name? His producer left. Ben. The show has not been the same.
Is that true?
Yeah. The show's not been the same. The only good for anyone listening, we're grabbing this. The only thing I like with Tim Dillon right now is his Patreon episodes with Ray Kump. If you're a Tim Dillon fan, it's worth the $5 a month to hear
Did
his
you watch
Patreon
his
episode with
Netflix
Ray
show
Kump.
yet?
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, I got to see it.
Something about his team I find off.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know. Nothing he does outside of the podcast captures what I think is.
Well, you didn't watch that yet. I heard it was great from some people, if you're fans. So I have to watch it.
Yeah, but it didn't make the top 10. The Netflix never made the top 10 in Netflix. Like the things he does just don't hit. He was in the Joker sequel.
Was he?
Yeah. That was like his big debut. It was like the worst movie ever. Like he has this weird.
Did you see it?
Him. I didn't see it. I love the first one. I liked
it too.
I
thought it was incredible, but I saw a lot of bad people coming up, bad reviews.
Yeah, no one liked it. No one liked it.
All right, well, those are our. So you predict a landslide for Trump too, or what do you think? Or you think it'll be close?
I think people will be shocked by how many votes he gets. I don't think anyone quite realizes how popular he is yet.
And you don't think people at the end, if it's a landslide, will just be like, "Yeah, of course."
Oh yeah. I'm the thing I'm looking forward to most is listening to Pod Save America the day after the election, where they're like, we had a chance to nominate a different nominee and we didn't take it, and we knew she was.
They're saying now how great she is. Are they saying now how great Kamala is?
No, it's just it's like the day after the debate with Biden. There's this very rare moment of raw honesty after these huge events where they're not performing, they're just saying what they think. And I love those moments.
Yeah. But I'm liking Dan Senior, by the way. I've been watching clips. Do you see Scott on him recently? There's a special gifted. He's a really there's a gift of Dan Senior? The best version of what that is. Just watching him talk. He has something about the way he can interview but conversate, if that's a word. Converse.
He's very experienced, and his guests. I mean, he did something really cool, which is I'm not going to book names anyone recognizes, but I'm going to book people who actually have something fascinating, interesting to say. Scott Galloway is like his biggest guest. His main
Sam
guests
Harris.
are. Yeah. I'm saying, but that's not why the podcast is popular. The podcast is popular because he has journalists in the intelligence space in Israel who actually have something to say, and you're like, why did Israel attack the Iranian missile defense? Like, what was that? Right. And then they come on, and then you understand it, and you're like,
I gotta dig more. I gotta go through 72 hours. I have a question. Was this born out of October 7th? The whole podcast?
No, he's been doing it for years.
Oh, interesting.
He's he's a Bush guy who's been doing it for years. I don't think anyone was listening in big numbers. And after October 7th, it all came together, I think, in a big way.
You'd be proud of me. Yeah. No, I've been digesting a lot more full-length things, so I'll speed it up and watch entire things because all the debates, I'm reading Benny Morris's Righteous Victims. You're crying. I've been reading Righteous Victims just to get really more.
The thing with the pages, the paper pages,
text, the whole shebang.
So the video transcripts that are printed out onto the pages.
Not video, actually reading. It's nice.
That's wild, man.
And you get to learn where the gaps in your education are, what's kind of left out, but what's kind of affirmed. You see that stuff, and then you watch debates with a little more of a interesting lens of. There's one with Destiny versus Gideon Levy, which is interesting. I just came across on YouTube, and he's a hyper left-wing Haaretz journalist, who essentially. But it's weird. It's interesting to see people who can acknowledge Israel's problems, not from a purity standpoint, but still make the case. So I hear that.
I'm excited for you. I think the people you debate also without naming too many names, they're 1 to 2 Wikipedia articles into their research. And I think with just a little bit more than that, you could really do some damage. So I'm excited for you.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, we shall see. Right. The future. One thing I'm a little worried about is Trump wins, and then where are we? We're back in that world that we remember, which is which is so hyper. I hope it doesn't return to that, where people are just crazy. I'm happy. In one sense, I'm okay. And then other times I'm I do remember what it was like, and people were losing their minds every 2 seconds. So
I think it becomes even more. People are going to be living in a reality where Trump is Hitler ruining the world, and some people are not going to be. I feel like in 2016 we were all still in the same reality in a way,
Yeah.
and now people are just going to be living in two completely separate realities.
I
Like I
also
think
worry about his security as a president, given that there's been 3 assassination attempts on him, and people just forgot that.
Yeah,
That's unprecedented.
I wish him the best. I wish him the best.
Well, I wish him well. All right.